That day, the sky was heavy and overcast. My chest felt tight. The humidity clung to my throat, making every breath feel shallow, as if I were trapped somewhere without air. I was doing something I would never wish on any mother, burying my 7-year-old son alone. My black clothes stuck to my skin, sweat running slowly down my back. Against my will, my eyes kept drifting toward the cemetery entrance. Maybe someone would appear at the last second. Maybe a phone would ring. But nothing happened. There was only a vast cemetery and my son's small grave, facing me in silence. No mother, no father, no sister, just silence. And it was the kind that made your ears ache. I tried to lie to myself. Maybe Daniel was stuck on the road. Maybe Katerina was running late. Maybe Olivia's flight hadn't landed yet. But the moment the first shovelful of earth hit the coffin, every excuse I had invented collapsed. Just then, my bag vibrated faintly. A spark of hope flared inside me, maybe finally an apology. But it wasn't a message meant for me. It was a link sent by my mother. I opened it. A listing appeared on my screen, a large, luxurious house by the coast. Beneath the photos were just 2 words: New Beginning. My eyes burned as I stared at the screen. Sweat and tears blurred together. The price was clearly visible, $1.5 million. I recognized that number immediately. My son's life insurance. The fund created in his name. Every dollar of it. At that very moment, I was lowering my child into the ground, while they were choosing a house to rebuild their lives. Later, when I saw my mother's messages in full, something inside me snapped. This was no longer just grief. Everything I had swallowed, everything I had endured in silence for years, rose to the surface. In that moment, I understood. The time for mourning was over. The game had begun. But before I continue, write in the comments where you're listening to this story from and what time it is there right now. Let's see how far this story travels. On the drive home, the silence wrapped around my neck like a heavy chain. The old sedan's air conditioner cooled my skin, but it couldn't touch the emptiness inside me. The back seat was filled with flower boxes left over from the service. The scent of white lilies was suffocating, reminding me with every breath of the weight of loss. When I unlocked the door to my apartment, there was no sense of relief, only a heavy layer of silence that clung to me like dust. I walked into the kitchen, set my keys down on the table, and stood beside the empty chair where Leo used to sit every morning. Everything felt still and frozen, nothing but memories and a cold, hollow space. I waited for the moment I thought would come, for my knees to give out, for tears to soak my face, for grief to swallow me whole. But it didn't happen. Instead, a strange, numb focus settled over my body. Something ignited inside me. The burning sun of the desert no longer touched me, and every detail around me sharpened with unnatural clarity. I opened my laptop. I knew I had to see the truth. I logged into the Flores website, the one my mother used for every birthday and anniversary. I knew the password. I was usually the one who placed the orders, while she took the credit and the praise. I found the floral arrangement she had ordered for the funeral. The order had been placed 14 days earlier. This wasn't traffic. It wasn't illness. It wasn't some sudden emergency. Everything had been planned. 14 days earlier, they already knew they wouldn't be there while I buried my son. They had scheduled their absence as casually as setting up a lunch meeting. I didn't scream. I didn't slam the laptop shut. I just sat there as the last fragile hope I had protected for years finally broke. The childhood belief that my mother loved me, that my father would protect me. It was gone. Then I opened my bank account. I saw the credit card I shared with my sister, Olivia. 3 years earlier, I had added her as an authorized user when she said she needed help building her credit history. I checked the recent transactions. While I was choosing a coffin for Leo, she had spent $400 at Sephora in Atlanta. While I was writing my son's eulogy, she had spent $200 at a restaurant. I removed the authorized user. I confirmed it. The card was shut down immediately. Next, I opened the smart home app for the family cabin in the northern mountains. They all called it the family cabin, but the deed was in my name alone. I had bought it with the settlement from my divorce, a place where Leo could see snow. Every weekend, my parents brought their friends there and lived like wealthy retirees, while I paid the taxes. I selected the digital lock and changed every access code. Daniel, Katerina, Olivia. I set a new PIN. Then I cut them off everywhere else: music platforms, streaming services, Amazon Prime, cloud photo storage. I checked every digital connection methodically and shut them down one by one. I remembered what my mother had told me just a week earlier. Linda, you're not made for the real world. You play with coloring books while adults get things done. Coloring books. In her eyes, my illustration work, every financial sacrifice I had made for my child, was nothing more than a hobby. I stared at the screen, and what I saw cooled something deep inside me. Every account was closed, every card was deactivated, every door was locked. They had thought I was weak, broken, easy to control. They didn't understand that grief doesn't always shatter a person. Sometimes it burns them clean, sharpens them, and makes them unyielding. I shut the laptop. The apartment was still silent, but it was no longer empty. It felt charged, as if every corner held the residue of deliberate action. I sat under the dim kitchen light, the blue glow of the laptop reflecting off my hands. My fingers rested on the keyboard, but my mind wandered through years of memories, dissecting every manipulation, every lie. Why had I spent 32 years paying their debts, fixing their mistakes, swallowing their insults? Why had I devoted my entire life to their needs? I opened the Excel file I had hidden on my computer. I had named it Ledger. Everything had started 4 years earlier when my father, Robert, took early retirement. Line 1, $96,000, the full payoff of their second mortgage. Every single month, like clockwork. $2,000 left my account and landed in theirs. I remembered the moment of the first payment. My mother, Katerina, had called me with a trembling voice. "We're losing the house. We sacrificed everything for you, and now we have nothing left." At the time, I had just landed my first major contract, illustrating a textbook for a university. I felt rich, and at the same time, deeply guilty. So I paid. My father only nodded. "Good girl. At least you're useful." Useful. My value had a price tag. That was the rent I paid to exist in their lives. Line 12, influencer trip. Olivia wanted to promote her brand in Bari for her birthday, but she couldn't afford the ticket. My mother told me over Sunday lunch, "Olivia is very talented. She just needs a little help. You have savings. Don't be selfish." The word selfish was used only in one situation, whenever I tried to keep something for myself. I paid for the ticket. After the trip, Olivia posted more than 30 photos. I never even received a thank you message. It was as if my existence was invisible. I scrolled further down the Excel file. Line 24, car accident. Olivia had crashed the BMW while texting. The loan was in my father Robert's name, and he was terrified his credit score would drop. I paid $500. No one asked, "Are you okay?" But it was never just about the money. They erased me. For weeks. For months. Then they'd offer small gestures, a compliment about my hair, a 2-second hug, a midnight text saying, "Thinking of you." And every time I believed again. See? They do love me. If I try a little harder, if I give a little more, everything will finally be okay. I looked at the final entry. 2 days after Leo's death, a package appeared at my door. It had been sent under my mother Katerina's name. I wanted to help. "I love you." My hands shook as I opened it. There were no words of comfort inside, no messages of love, only overdue notices, credit card debts, and a foreclosure warning for the beach house, all addressed to Olivia and my parents. A yellow sticky note was attached, written in my mother's handwriting. "Do the right thing, Linda. Family supports family." They didn't see my mourning. My grief didn't exist. Their focus was only on payments and inheritance. I closed the Excel file. The shame I had carried for years, of not being enough, of not being like my sister, evaporated. In its place came clarity, purpose. I had spent my life building a safety net for them, with my money and my self-worth. That was over. Now I would simply cut the rope and watch them fall. At 2:00, there was a knock at my door. It wasn't a casual knock. It was heavy, demanding, the kind used by people who believe they're entitled to enter. I looked through the peephole. Robert and Katerina. The door opened. My father walked straight in. He didn't look at me. He went directly to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and began throwing things away. "Expired," he said, tossing the milk into the trash. "Wilted," he added, throwing out the spinach. On the surface, it looked like a routine check-in. In reality, it was pressure. Every movement carried judgment. This woman can't even manage groceries. My mother stood in the hallway studying the large watercolor paintings on the walls, my flowers slowly decaying in layered washes. "This place feels very dark," she said, "and these paintings, they're too much. You're starting to fall apart." I leaned against the doorframe. "What exactly are you saying?" "We're here to save you," my mother replied, her eyes wide and glistening. "We spoke to a specialist. The situation looks serious. You've isolated yourself, you're aggressive, you've cut off contact with your sister." She reached into her bag and placed a thick folder on the table. "Voluntary conservatorship, financial only. Until you stabilize, we'll manage Leo's fund. We'll take care of the bills." I stared at the documents. This wasn't just about money. They wanted full control over me. "And if I refuse?" I asked calmly. My father slammed the refrigerator door. "Then the police get involved. Involuntary psychiatric evaluation. We have statements from neighbors. Emails you sent to Olivia." I froze. I had never emailed Olivia. The truth didn't matter to them. Only the story they had prepared. I looked at my mother. The performance was gone. Her fingers weren't twisting anymore. There was no worry in her eyes. She was watching me quietly, and that calm was more dangerous than any raised voice. Professionals call this the savior complex. The person causing harm needs to see themselves not as the abuser, but as the rescuer. They didn't see themselves as people trying to seize money from a woman who had lost her child. They saw themselves as parents saving their collapsing daughter. For them to remain righteous, I had to be unstable. "We're protecting you," my mother said softly. "This is for your own good. Don't resist. Sign it. Otherwise, we'll make the decision for you." I walked into the living room and stood by the window. Below, a white Range Rover was parked. Olivia sat behind the wheel. She didn't get out. Her phone was mounted on the dashboard, a ring light reflected in her sunglasses. She was live. Part of the title was visible. "Hard Day. Family Intervention. Please keep us in your prayers. #mental health." My breakdown was her content. First, portray me as unstable. Then secure the money. Then collect applause. Every detail had been planned. Legal pressure, public perception, emotional manipulation. I turned back to them. "I need one night," I said. "Just one." My father answered without hesitation. "You have 24 hours. Tomorrow at noon. After that, we involve the police." As they left, my mother touched my cheek. Her hand was ice cold. "We love you, Linda. We're doing this out of love." I closed the door and slid the chain into place. The documents were still on the table. They thought they were in control. They thought I hadn't seen the consequences of their final move. They didn't know I had already changed the game. And I wasn't alone. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer, Eric. His office felt less like a law firm and more like an emergency operations center. The low hum of servers filled the background. At the head of the table sat Leo's aunt, Helen, a retired judge. Her eyes were sharp, alert. "We found it," Eric said calmly, decisively. "This isn't a normal debt situation. It's an illegal gambling network. Olivia's name is on the primary list. The amount is close to $400,000. Your parents co-signed for her. These aren't banks. They're people who collect with time limits. Everything finally aligned. The panic, the rushed ultimatums, the sudden appearance of parental concern. They weren't trying to protect me," I said quietly. "They were coming for Leo's fund." Helen opened the folder and laid the documents out across the table, speaking as she went. "They've prepared filings portraying you as a danger to yourself, under the claim of self-harm risk. They attached fabricated messages as evidence." I placed my phone on the table. "And I have real records. My smartwatch shows I was in deep sleep that night. My home camera footage proves I was working calmly." Eric nodded with a brief smile. "This goes beyond manipulation. This is an outright crime. If they want money, I'll give it to them. Exactly how they want to see it." When I returned to my parents' house, I looked like someone who had lost. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I made the transfer. $450,000. The tension in the room dissolved instantly. Their faces relaxed. Minutes later, Robert's phone rang. The color drained from his face. "All the accounts, they're all frozen." "This isn't an accident," I said. "I filed a formal whistleblower report the day before. That transfer triggered the system automatically." Olivia screamed. "The gambling network saw the money move too," I added. "Now you're caught between two threats." I walked out. What followed happened quickly. They lost the house. Olivia disappeared. I received official protection. I established an astronomy scholarship fund in Leo's name. I didn't lose my family. I was freed from them. And now, I live quietly, at peace.